Good morning, Bears. All right. Hope everybody can hear what is going on. Hope we're having some good sounds today. Hey, what is happening? All right. So, welcome to episode 51. And hashtag let Big Bear stream. We will be keeping that up until it has been accomplished. You all are in for a treat today. We have in-house Harold Greene. He is going to be coming in just a second. He's on deck, ready to go. Oh, wait a minute. I'm showing stuff off a little early here. That's a preview for later. We're going to get that in there. We're going to talk about some of Harold's music today. We're going to play some clips of that. But that was just a little teaser, if you will. I am over the hill now. I'm 51. Oh my goodness. That seems dangerous. It's not healthy, I think. But nevertheless, we're going to do this. Before we begin, I just wanted to say a few things. Thanks for watching the Love Chunk of Your Economy commercial there. As many of you know, this is now available. We're up to 4 sold. We just need 1 more and we're over that hump. I wanted to ask you, let me get some feedback real quick. How was the audio from the Love Chunk of Your Economy commercial? Could anybody hear what was going on? Because that was my first attempt at trying to air a video. So let's get some immediate feedback. How did that go over? Was anybody able to even understand what was being said? Oh, Steve Pender says 5. I guess he put us over the hump. That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't get the email yet, so I'm suspecting it'll come through pretty quick here. That's flipping cool. That is way, way awesome. But yeah, volume for the chunk commercial. It was quiet and had a buzz. Well, I will do what I can to fix that. I also noticed that it dropped the voice way, way deep at the beginning of it and slowly came up. So little by little, we're going to get some better quality material in here. How's the stream quality right now? Because from my end, it says that it's red. Am I coming through at all? Am I coming through clear? Because I know sometimes we have problems with that. Let's see here. Yeah, feel free to let me know if you're getting the circle of death or if we're making it through. Because I'm about to bring in Harold here in just a moment, and I want to make sure that everything's working for you. Audio's good. How about the visual? Is that coming through loud and clear, or visually clear, or are we skipping? But yeah, feel free to tell me. You have 360p. I don't have a clue what data rate I'm on. It seems to be green from the OBS app, but YouTube seems to say that I'm red. So we'll see how it goes. That's good to hear. At any rate, it can come back to me. Yeah. Glad to. Yeah, I know it did. Thanks for telling me, Sovereign. Yeah, we'll fix that in future. Hey, by the way, also just wanna give a little bit of props. Oh, by the way, yeah, the chunk shirt, just be aware, it comes in these other 4 wonderful colors. So you don't just have to stick with red if you don't want to, but there's all kinds of things you can do with the chunk shirt. It's pretty cool. Let me say one other thing before I bring in Harold, and that is that many of you are familiar with a gentleman that happens to be involved in the chat right now. And in a little less than a month now, he's going to be reissuing his Pender's Ugly Mug. That is a beverage vessel to rival all other beverage vessels, because unlike the Leftist Tears tumbler, which is asbestos lined, unlike the Crowder's girthy hand etched mug, which improves overall nutrient absorption for pets when they eat from it by, I think, 41%. The Pender's Ugly Mug will allow you to improve your mathematical skills and accounting abilities by a factor of 5, right? You'll be able to increase that, 1 for each book of the Torah, right? And so it's a good cut above the other mugs, at least 10% above. You got to have that 10%, tie that a little higher there because of the Jews. So Yeah, you want to make sure you get one of those ASAP because they're as soon as they're available. So it's definitely a thing to do. We want Pinder's Ugly Mug to be proliferated all over the place, right? There deserves to be a nation of Pinder's Ugly Mugs, just as there deserves to be a nation of Israel, at least in my mind, I think, and hopefully it's in the minds of many others. So at any rate, without further ado, if he is still here, which I think he may not, we have a poor connection. Oh, he is here. And Harold, if you want to bring yourself off of mute, we will see if we've got you in our split screen. We might have to. Well, I might have to finagle something here. Let's see, window capture. I'm just gonna have to get this real quick, and then let's see if we got you. So FaceTime with Harold, and
can you hear me?
I can hear you, and we're all about to see you. Just as always, bear with me, because technology is not always our friend, especially in the YouTube realm here. Let me do this. Hey, that looks good. All right. So, everyone, welcome my friend and mentor, Harold Greene. How are you today, brother?
Good morning. Morning Bears.
Oh, it's so awesome. This is Love Bear, everybody. He's killing it here. You can, by the way, I'll just plug him at the beginning here. Go to his website, haroldgreenmusic.com, and pick up a copy of the Love album, which we are going to be talking a little bit about today. You can also get in on a class that he has coming up. I'll post this real quick. I'll transition over to it. He's got an online theory class that he's going to start tonight. Is that at 7 Eastern or 7 Central? I wasn't 100% sure.
It's 7 Eastern, 6 Central.
6 Central, yeah. That makes sense. That's how those work, right? It goes earlier.
I get confused all the time.
Yeah, and I've traveled the country a bit, so I'm like, you'd think I'd know it by now, but no, not really. So yes, that online theory class, you get the practical theory essentials. I took the fundamentals of this class before starting a 2-year music degree at Illinois Central College, and I have to say it was massively helpful for me to conceptualize a lot of the different things that I was going to be presenting with in that course. It just in a much more useful way. Like I had a better handle on the foundations before going there. Yeah, we are definitely having low data, so you are going to go in and out, I guess, a little bit. Harold, you're down in South Carolina right now, and I guess you've traveled more inland from where you've been living due to the hurricanes.
Well, first, with all due respect, I am in North Carolina, but
I do that all the time. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Well, we're in the South, so I get it. That's actually a very common thing that Northerners always say. I'm from South Carolina, so
right.
You're in good company with many of my young friends.
Well, my favorite cymbal company is based in South Carolina, so I guess I'm a little biased.
Well, Myrtle Beach is in South Carolina.
There's that.
We don't really, all of our beaches, we have barrier islands.
Okay.
So we don't really have the kind of beachfront that, on mainland beachfront like Myrtle Beach. But
yeah.
Anyway, we have much more, how should we say, kind of like family-friendly beaches.
Okay.
A lot of condos and, kind of smaller communities and that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
North Carolina, yeah, I live on the coast, really, in a town called Jacksonville, which is really the home of Camp Lejeune.
Okay.
Military base. The Marines are stationed there.
Okay.
And they're on the waterfront. And so the town is behind them. So I'm probably 20 minutes from the nearest public beach, but we're on the coast. And so the whole area was mandatory evacuation on Tuesday, a mandatory voluntary evacuation. In other words, they didn't want to forcibly kick people out of their homes.
Right.
But as the local officials put it, if you're going to stay, then you need to call us and give us who your next of kin is. So they were trying to encourage people that this is a life or death kind of thing. And it really is. There are people who are being rescued as we speak, who are locked in by flooding on all sides and that kind of thing. But we left on Tuesday and came to my mom's further inland, as you said, in Oxford, North Carolina, north of Raleigh.
Okay. Yeah. I'm familiar with that area. I did drive through there some when I was there. When I was in South Carolina for chaplain assistant school a couple years ago for the Air Force, I did take some time. I went up to where Fort Bragg is at, and I drove through a good portion of Summit, North Carolina. I went to meet a drummer friend of mine through Instagram and took a lesson with him. He was actually a military drummer with the Army band up at station at Fort Bragg. So I did get to see some decent portions. Yeah, and it's a beautiful area. Beautiful. Oh, we're our connection with you is probably going to go in and out a little bit just because data's a little lower. But
it's in Fayetteville, I believe, right?
Fayetteville, I think that's right. Don't quote me on that.
They got hit really, really hard.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
So
keep prayers out. Keep prayers out for all those folks down there, especially Anderson Cooper, waist deep in water. As we all know, it's clearly that serious.
That was not. Technically, that wasn't Florence. That was a different hurricane. But
okay.
We love Anderson's authenticity.
Of course,
he's authentically CIA, and you can trust that he is part of the propaganda wing known as CNN of the CIA.
I think that's likely to be true. I think you'd be in good company with other Alex Jones watchers out there.
I remember one time I heard Anderson Cooper take a position on something that wasn't. He took a position on something, and it wasn't completely like hardcore leftist theology. I mean, it was like there was a brief moment when he was actually kind of doing like journalism, where you try to, take either side to kind of bring out the truth. And, but it was one moment, and then it never happened again. And I had never seen it before. And I was like, what? I stopped, what I was doing. I was like, Anderson's like, no, it kind of faded real fast. And he was back to his normal shenanigans. But anyway.
Yes, that sounds par for the course.
So, sorry, we jumped into that so quickly.
Oh, it's okay. Well, I sort of directed it there. I had to bring up the Anderson.
Well, you did bring up Anderson.
Yeah, I couldn't resist, man. I think, as you're aware, the comedian Owen Benjamin, who kind of inspired a lot of the people who are podcasting, doing stuff within the group of the Bears, the Unbearables, as they're better known. He's been posting a bunch of this stuff on Instagram lately, and other people have been putting great memes and stuff out of little short video clips or something, like one of the CNN folks covering the hurricane stuff, and then you've got them like fighting against the wind, and then there's two people walking at normal pace, right
behind them,
whatever, right? Yeah, it's just laughable. It's so funny. So a lot of us are quite familiar with how hilarious this is.
Well, of course, Brian Stelter had a go at defending the Weather Channel, of course, because I guess they belong to the same fraternity or something. But anyway, he's faithfully defending his fellow actors. I guess, are there really any journalists left? They're all actors and comedians, right? I mean,
is John Stossel still doing stuff?
He is an actual journalist.
Crowder had him on recently.
But you don't. When do you ever hear of Stossel? Like, I see him on YouTube sometimes.
Well, I'm sure he's marginalized.
Well, he has to be, because he's not on the hard left.
It's true. It's very true. If you haven't seen that, that's worth checking out. It was just a recent one, but it was a Crowder interview that I really enjoyed with John Stossel, because Stephen had some really good memories of watching him as he was growing up. And I remember Stossel too. And I don't think I was aware of the whole conservative liberal business back then. I wasn't aware of like leftist thoughts and things because it wasn't nearly as vehement then as it is now. But
no, he kind of started more on the left. I saw him do in maybe the same interview you saw, but he kind of talked a little bit about how he just, kind of drifted more toward the. I don't know if he drifted more toward the right or the left just kept drifting left, but whatever happened, something shifted with him, and now he's pretty solid, in the center. Maybe a little right of center or something.
Robot Bear is one of our viewers here. He says Stossel is at reason.com now. I guess that's a network that he's involved with. So that's appropriate.
I mean, there's a couple, gosh, it's hard to find them, but like actual people interested in truth that aren't just, selling some kind of political narrative, whatever.
Certainly. Yeah, you're certainly right. And I want to come back to some of these things. I think one of the things we sort of glossed over, and I wanted to definitely get to, since it's the meat and potatoes of why I'd asked you to come. We've got some people who are asking about it, and I wanted to ask you more about that too, at least in the context of this interview. I know you and I have talked about it, but your history a little bit as a musician, what brought you into music, and what your training has been like, what your career's been like. Please share a little bit of your chronology, if you would.
Well, I think, when I was just a wee lad, I think I was probably no older than 3 or 4. And my mom would have us do the cherub choir at church. She was the pastor's wife, and my dad was the pastor, of course.
Yes.
And in any case, so this is how, you can't explain this by training or whatever. This is more of a how God wires and gifts us. So the pianist hit a wrong note in the little intro between verses in the hymn, and I sat down, and right when it got quiet, I yelled out as a 3-year-old little boy, she messed me up, as loud as I can. Keep in mind, I'm at the front of the church, sitting next to my mom, and right in front of the pulpit where my dad is getting ready to preach. And of course the whole church just erupted in laughter. But what 3-year-old cares about one wrong note? It was literally just one wrong note. She hit a wrong accidental. I want to say it was in the key of A flat, but anyway, but that's
remember the key. I love that.
I don't know, but so it started then, and so not only was I born to do music, but I was born to be a music director because I'm criticizing the accompanist,
right.
at the age of 3. So this is the way, and so this is how we know. I think that God exists because there's no reason for me to understand or plug into that critique or any of that, unless it was just there, raw material. And I was kind of split between that and art. I had a real strong interest in renderings, sketchings, and that kind of thing. And but at 12 years old, I got a guitar for Christmas, and it was all over. And I just I think, looking back on it, not only did I have a natural gifting for that, and I would literally, in church, I would sing a different part on every verse. So if it was a 4-verse hymn, I would sing soprano one time, alto another time, tenor another time, bass the next. And I would teach myself how to read music, and I was very interested in that from a very young age. And so I was training my ears, I didn't realize it at the time, to hear all 4 parts. When I was in college, I went on to study music in college. I went to Berklee College of Music. I went from there to North Carolina Central, got my BA and PM, and then I got my master's in music at Bowling Green in Ohio. But I literally would take the ear training exams, and we would have 4-part dictation, where they play a
Oh yeah.
four-part
Mm-hmm.
thing, and you have to write it out. And I would get 100% on all of them. I never, I could just hear, all the parts when I listened to music, my whole life, because of growing up in the church. But um, anyway, so funny, another kind of poignant story.
Sure.
My first music directing gig was actually, I was 12 years old.
What?
And
Wow.
I couldn't play guitar very well yet. I had just started playing guitar, but I understood parts really well. And my sister's boyfriend was in a rock band,
There you go.
country rock. We would play Leonard Skinner and Alabama, and and everything in between, even some Van Halen occasionally. But
Very nice.
they they wanted to learn how to sing harmony, and they brought 12-year-old Harold to teach them how to sing in three parts.
That's way cool.
Yeah, that happened. And then when I was about 16 or 17, I directed my first church choir and played organ in the church. So, yeah. Anyway, I think looking back on it, though, not only was there a gifting there, but I think in a lot of ways, like a lot of people, I was really struggling to find my identity at that age. And I also needed a refuge because in a lot of ways, just from, really kind of taking a look back at things, what shaped me. I think in a lot of ways, I had a sense of rejection that I carried with me, and kind of gained that somehow in my childhood.
Sure.
But in music, you could be completely absorbed into it, and it would just fill my heart, and it would fill my passions, and I could listen to Kansas albums. They became my favorite group because I could listen to the album, over and over and over again with headphones and hear something different every time. Oh, I've never heard that guitar part, or oh man, listen to what the piano does there, or what kind of synth is that, or or I'd listen to the lyrics, or I would listen to the vocal harmony and try to figure that out, or the time signatures became an interest to me because Kansas never, they hardly play in 4/4.
It's so true. And I want to interject real quick that you were able to sort of share some of your love for this with me a few years ago. You invited me to join you at a Kansas concert, and
that's where I met the new lead singer.
Yeah, Ronnie Platt, right? Or am I saying his last name right?
No, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, it was. I remember that. After the show, I went and got a picture of the two of you together, which was very, very cool. But it was like just the whole experience. I'd never been to like a major rock show like that. And I'd listened to bits of Kansas, but I was never like a deep fan. I wasn't like familiar with their full catalog in a large part. I've become much more familiar with a lot more of their stuff. You encouraged me to get their more recent album, the Prelude Implicit, that they released. Was that 16 or 17?
Incredible album.
My gosh, yeah.
It's on par. I don't want to overstate it, but I really think it might be on par with Point of No Return. I don't want to upset any traditional Kansas fans, but these guys, Zach Reesby is writing, with a Livgren sensibility.
Okay.
For time signatures and polyphony, and he's just got a great sense of harmony, and the odd times. He's really captured the spirit of that, and the whole band is just smoking. If you haven't seen them, like Aaron, tell them.
Y'all got to go. Bears, if you have never been to a Kansas concert, you got to do it. And they're back touring. They're out doing their stuff now, so that's a show worth seeing.
Probably one of the hottest rock acts touring, and they're all over 50.
Right.
But except for Zach. But they really. I think Zach's younger than me, but
that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, you opened for them back in the day, didn't you?
I did. After grad school, I came back to North Carolina, and my longtime friend, who I played in high school with in the band that I had originally started as a coach, eventually I joined the band. My guitar skills got good enough, and I joined the band. We played as a country band for years. Then we changed into sort of like a Christian rock band and started to emulate what the direction Kansas had went, because Terry Lufgren had converted to Christianity somewhere about 1979, 1980. And so, we were taking our cues from them and writing this prog rock and playing like, lock-ins and stuff, church lock-ins and whatnot. But anyway, that guy, Damon Brown, joined me in, I joined him in a band called Grady's Hat.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually an album, gosh, it's hard to find.
Right.
You can go on my SoundCloud.
Yeah, what's the address for that?
Let me see.
I'll type it in the chat right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'm looking it up. It's
okay.
soundcloud.com/Harold-Greene. And of course, Greene has an E on the end.
Dash Greene.
And the whole Grady's Hat album, I think, is on my SoundCloud.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the second album. So I've got 3 albums up there. Love, the one I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
We certainly
will. Grady's Hat, I've got 10 tracks from that album. I think that's the whole album. And then one from The Sun, which is the fusion record I did back in the 90s.
I might have to play some tracks from that at some point down the road. We'll have to get a couple, because that stuff's so much fun. You got a few of us local Peoria area musicians together last year, and we were working on even a couple of tracks from that album, which was a blast. And some of the newer stuff that you've written that you haven't recorded yet, like not in-depth full studio recording yet. But you have gotten like demo tracks.
That's on here too. That's on SoundCloud.
Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Deafening Silence.
Deafening Silence, man.
My tribute to my influences in prog rock.
Of course.
And it's in here somewhere.
Right. We'll be getting to those. Like, I'm gonna have to find a time where I can have an excuse to play some of those. But I'm gonna say, why don't you share with us too, like sort of get a fast forward, or not totally cut it out, but zoom a little bit toward how you and I got to know each other, like what you went through up to that point, education wise and experience wise, that brought you to Peoria, and then how you and I ended up meeting in 2008. Well,
after grad school, and I had really wanted to become a composer a lot because of Kansas's music. I was so enthralled by what those guys did, and I wanted to understand it and be able to reproduce it. But of course, it went way beyond that. I discovered jazz, and that became a big thing. And on guitar, I went and got a performance degree and all that stuff. Got married,
right,
and got offered 2 jobs right out of grad school for teaching music in college. And from there, I just kind of ran into a dry place in terms of my enjoyment of teaching college. At that time, in that season, I just, it didn't fulfill my heart. And, honestly, I mean, it's not the students' fault, but a lot of the students were kind of a drag. I mean, they were in school for music, but they didn't seem to have the passion, and they weren't devoted to being connected with their mentors. It's like they kind of wanted to do their own thing. You know what I mean? And so the way my teachers poured into me, I couldn't really replicate that in that environment. I couldn't pour into them because they really weren't interested.
Right.
And that was kind of the whole fire of teaching, was getting to empower people and, see them grow. And I don't know, I just kind of lost interest. But at the same time, my faith was starting to grow. And I felt called into ministry. And so I left college teaching and went into part-time ministry. And I was also playing a lot as a professional guitarist in North Carolina. So how did that get me to Peoria? I was searching for employment because we were getting ready to have our first child and only child. And I needed a job, and a full-time job, so that I didn't have to worry about benefits or income without all the traveling and all the, late nights that I was doing with playing and touring. So, um, so I saw this ad for Northwoods Community Church in Peoria, Illinois, and it really was a perfect fit with my skill sets in arranging, in guitar, in directing music, and so I took the job, and that's how I met Aaron Rademacher. And Aaron was one of our drummers on the worship team, and
Yeah, it was right after I got out the Army.
yeah, and just a really interesting guy. And I would say, musically, we had a lot of connection right away because you were interested in Steve, not Steve Morse, but Neil Morse.
Yes, yes, I introduced you to that, and you were
Yeah,
like, "What?"
and oh my gosh, that music is, and I couldn't believe it. That I had been unaware of Neil
Oh
Morse. But
man,
anyway, you turned me on to a lot of stuff like that, and we had a lot of time together. You would come down into the studio
yes,
and
you taught me.
record drum tracks, and yeah, we worked on just concept, mostly conceptual things, I would
It
say.
was, yeah. You gave me opportunity to sit down and go through the process of like fine tuning my drumming
Yeah.
against your music, and I'm like, wait a minute. And the more and more I learned about you, I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is saying, "Come and let me like, come and sit in and play drums on my tracks." Even just a little bit, even if it wasn't to be recorded for that, you're like still taking me under there and sort of um, molding me a little bit, or giving me the opportunity to mold myself as well,
Yeah.
and grow in my understanding of what drumming could be, because I kind of had an idea, obviously, if I played with the military band,
Oh yeah.
but then I
Yeah.
come out of that, and in the few years, just a couple of years or so after I got back to the States and was doing things with you, my understanding exploded. It just blew up within a like 4 year period. I was doing things that I didn't think were possible. I was aware of stuff that I didn't even know was there. Like, we're talking about things like being on the front side or the back side of the beat, or right dead on the beat, and I'm like, that's a thing, right? I thought it was just you play and you try to make it not sound bad, and you try to generally play together with people, right? And now I'm seeing like you can micro focus, you can zoom in on this kind of stuff, and
Well put.
make stuff professional, make stuff like awesome, and it's a metaphor. I've seen it in the way I teach it to my students for life. Like, you're constantly trying to zoom in that micro focus in your areas of expertise, but you want to do that in other areas of life. You want to be able to get the big picture view of like just simple things like, how am I living my day? Like, you could go Jordan Peterson with it. Like, how am I organizing my room, so to speak? How am I being precise in my speech? All of these little things that allow you to function day to day.
How am I tending my heart?
Yes, that's the next place that I would come to, because you've often been the leader in that type of thing for me. You've been a mentor in that area, even more so than music a lot of times. And if that's not well taken care of, if you're that's what I tell people when I end the show. It's like, engage your mind, engage your body, engage your heart, and seek to serve the ultimate purpose. It's essentially taking the precepts of Luke 2:52, Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature, in favor with God and man. You've got your mind, your body, right? The wisdom and the stature, and then your heart, which is relationship, right? In a lot of ways. And of course, he breaks that in too. He's like, in favor with God and with man is how Jesus grew. It's like, well, seek to serve the ultimate purpose, which is love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. That would be the heart engaged in relationship. So it's my own spin on that. It's my own way of putting that, so to speak. And yeah, you gave me practical experience in an area that I had a deep connection with, to grow in more areas of life than that, than just the music, just the drumming. So
Well, we had
it's pretty exciting.
we had a lot of great things going on with music, but I always try to think of, since I had my conversion experience,
Yes.
I've always tried to think of music as kind of like you know, it's the vehicle through which to
Yes.
share or allow what the good in me to rub off on whoever that I can, be available to rub off on.
Right.
The scripture about where it says, and Jesus went to spend some time alone with the disciples, and
Yes.
the sort of the translation of that really is that he wanted to rub off on them in the way that a grass stain rubs off on your pants. It literally goes all the way through. The stain goes all the way through the clothing material.
I have 4 children. I'm quite familiar with that happenstance.
Well, and so and you're always probably as a dad.
Yeah.
You do this. You're trying to keep your radar up for when the moments come in to where
Yes.
they appear, to where you can pour in, or you can help establish healthy boundaries or understanding, I guess, really, of
Constantly.
the pillars of what it is to build a life. And one thing I always appreciate about Aaron is that you have an intense desire to know more about the Scripture, and the Scripture is how we can know more about God. I was telling some guys last week, and they're sort of they're exactly where I was in my 20s. They're just sort of like, this stuff is bunk, and people get to just as high of a plane this way, and all ways are the same. And no, that's not really true. I mean, what I've found is that the Bible speaks about spiritual truths, and you come to the truths, or the real revelation of Scripture really happens when you've crossed the line of faith. Because until you decide, really choose to believe, there's certain things that you'll read in Scripture 100 times and it won't mean anything to you.
Very true. Yes.
But once you've crossed the line of faith and you've decided, you know what, I'm casting my lots with Christ. He really seems like he must be the way. I mean, I'm gonna take this thing on faith, and I'm just gonna walk it out. Well, once you do that, all of a sudden you read the same scriptures you read as a child, but they mean something totally different now, and you start to see. And then when you live those things out, and you see that the Bible's accurately reporting on your internal emotional and spiritual life in ways that you just have this reaffirmation over and over and over again. This really is the word of truth.
Yes, and you strike my mind with that. Just an addendum to that. You remind me of what Jesus had said when he was doing the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5. There's a portion where he speaks regarding the Hebrew Scriptures, what we would call the Old Testament. He says, "Think not that I've come to destroy the law and the prophets. I have come not to destroy, but to fulfill." And that word "fulfill" in Greek is plerou, as I understand it, or at least a form of that root word plerou. And the idea behind there is not simply just like to make an end of something, but to make it full of meaning, right? So he came in order that the Scriptures could be lived out full of meaning, right, in people's lives, that they would see it far deeper. I mean, you take something like the idea of do not commit adultery, and he sets it on a higher plane, right? He says
it's like,
yeah, if you've done it in your heart, you've done it already. So like I'm setting that standard higher than you could have achieved, and to recognize that you're incomplete on your own.
And making a way to get there.
Exactly.
It's like for centuries people had been looking at like the blueprints of a Lamborghini and been studying them, and wow, this is the coolest thing, and I'm going to understand everything about where these bolts go here and the carburetor goes here, and they just knew everything about the Lamborghini. But once Christ came, it's like they actually got to sit in the driver's seat and crank that motor and go and be in the machine and understand the machine from the user operator standpoint, not just the observer. And sorry, I didn't mean to make Christ into Lamborghini today.
Well, I think that's mildly inappropriate for our interview today.
I saw that Ben Shapiro interview. Speaking of Ben Shapiro,
Oh, with Crowder? That was so good, man. By the way,
great.
if you go to Lamborghinis.com right now, promo code Ben, you can go ahead and get yourself a Lamborghini that emulates Christ in some way, shape, or form. Go ahead and put a little honey in our pot. I've got to get my Shapiro impressions in.
I love that guy, man. They are really a pair.
They are. It is so funny. And I tell you what, if you haven't seen it, it's fairly laced with some profanity, just as a warning, because that's Owen's style. But Owen Benjamin has a bit where he does a hilarious impression of Ben Shapiro, because Ben's always about the ads, right? That's like he's constantly just bringing up ads, and so he goes like almost how would I say, like Rain Man with it, like autistic in the way he's going about the Ben Shapiro impression.
That's
I was listening to that while driving down to visit some of my family in Emden, like a couple months ago, and I almost had to pull off on the side of the road because I was laughing so hard. Like I was in tears. I couldn't see well. Yeah, it wasn't a good thing. Don't do that while you're driving. Don't even listen while you're driving. It gets too dangerous. But at any rate, so let's discuss the Love album a little bit. I'm going to pull up a track or two and get your thoughts on how these tracks came up, because you didn't write all these all at once. They were written over time, over several different years.
So the album is really it's a testimony,
right?
Song, and of course I was very disappointed to learn that Neil Morris had already done this concept, but he didn't do it like I did it. So
that's true.
So I guess I still have my unique quality here, but no, I had this vision of doing an album using, telling my testimony using songs. Well, the part that was really kind of unique to this was that it was using songs I wrote over the course of my career.
Sure.
So starting with songs I wrote in high school up through college, grad school, my professional career, and using the concert experience, the Love concert, to just talk about who Jesus is, like not in a sort of dry theological sense, but in this was my life. This was me on depression.
Yeah.
And, for 10 years, I was clinically depressed, and I couldn't see the forest for the trees. And, it was just a really difficult season. But through finding Christ, or discovering or rediscovering, or however you want to say that, I was able to snap out of it. And so I tell that story playing songs. And so after every song, I'll say, now at this point, this was the height of my depression,
right,
or whatever. And we do Flibberty Flu.
Oh,
it's like the ode to sleep apnea.
Well, let me bring that one at first then, because that is a unique one, I will say. You showed me the old Grady's Hat version of this song, because it was originally a Grady's Hat tune years ago, and then finally you're doing like the full band arrangement with horns and all this stuff, and that just blew my mind. It was so good. I'm going to pull that up here. Let's see if it's playing. Yeah, I'm going to dig into it. I want to do it right. Hang on just a second, because we jumped the gun a little bit. I'm going to start right from the beginning on this track, because it's just so good. Hopefully it's not blaring in anybody's ears.
I uttered the phrase Flibberty Flu on a tangent on the way home about 3 a.m. from a gig, and we would just talk about weird stuff, and I was talking about the vast expanse of the universe. I remember saying the phrase, and then I just kind of faded out into and I kind of fell asleep, which I often would do, and my friends would make fun of me. They called my breathing machine the oxygenator. And so when I wrote this melody, they said, hey, let's call this Flibberty Flu. And so that's how that.
Didn't you say it was like you were thinking it was like something the universe was all made of in your sleep apnea talk or something like that? Maybe the whole universe is made of like
I
Flibberty
was
Flu.
really expounding on just the vast expanse of the universe and the stars and all the stuff. And then I just kind of fade. It's like I would often do. I would fall asleep sometimes in the middle of a conversation because of my sleep apnea. So anyway, that's why I call the song my ode to sleep apnea. I just Flibberty Flu.
And we were just playing the first minute of it just there while you were talking. That's what was going on in the background.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's a little bit of Flibberty Flu. I don't know how much y'all can hear of it, because I know the volume on it is lower. But yeah, give me a little feedback if you could hear it at all. I know it's quiet and it's gonna be quiet. I can't get it much louder because I turned my volume all the way up and that was as loud as it got. But if you could hear the music, even amidst us talking, feel free to just mention so in the chat and let us know that, hey, this is actually working. Because yeah, like I've said, I don't have a Not Gay Jared / Sound Guy Edwards / G Morgan Jr. / Hopper Crowder / Sven Computer, may he return to the show someday, / Quarter Black Garrett. I don't have any of those people. It's just me. But one day I will find one person who is an amalgamation of all of them. Yeah, I stopped it now. It's not going anymore, guys. But yeah, for that minute or so while we were talking, as long as it was working. Hang on one second. I'm just looking back. Andrew J is one of our guys, and he was saying something. I missed it. He's making a joke about something that. So yeah, when I do these streams, I'm trying to follow a little bit of what's going on in the chat as well, and it's difficult to keep up with all of that, And eventually, maybe who knows, we'll have a Mighty Networks or Gab or something. You can subscribe to our accounts there. We'll get one. And
you need a Jared.
I need a Jared. Maybe he's not working for Crowder anymore. I can get him come to me, right? It's like, hey, I'll pay you even less than Steven did when y'all started together, because I know he didn't have much. But I know, like, by the time he left that show, he must have been making some decent cash, because I know Steven's always talking about how he's trying to improve the quality of his workers. It's like, if I can make it so where they can earn more money, that's what I want to do. He's constantly figuring out how he can do better for the people that work for him. So, yeah. I suppose whatever Jared went on to, he's doing all right now. He's doing interviews on other people's shows and stuff like that too. I know he's been on Gavin McGinnis's show. He's been on, but I know he and Crowder did Rogan's show together. So he's developed some notoriety. I'm pretty sure he could make whatever kind of career he wants by this point. If he doesn't already have enough passive income to live on. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious to see what comes up with old Jared. I'd love to see him back doing stuff. Let me pull up. Oh, hey, hope it didn't do what I hope it didn't do. Let's see here. Let's go back. Yeah, there we go. Finding the songs that were before in the list. I wanted to pull up a little bit of one of my favorites, which is Man Inside Me. And this is easily my favorite song.
Aaron plays it like a ringing a bell, let me tell you.
Here we are. And so we're right at the second chorus, and we're just about to go into the bridge section. So this is easily, it's got so many cool prog elements to it. This is so much fun to play live. It really is, man.
Are you going to play the instrumental?
I'm going into it right now. You call this next section the ocean. Right here is where it started, yeah. And it's in like 4/4 and then a bar of 5/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's what's going on with that. And then it's weird because over the top of it, it feels like it's in 6/8 time. So you combine this feel of different times, and it's all this amalgamation of different time signatures happening at the same time. So you feel like you're floating over the ocean. And how did you describe that? It's like it was the ocean of your life at that time. Things were kind of confusing.
Yeah, it was. Well, the whole song, The Man Inside Me, is about that search for identity. So I don't know how much further at 19 when I wrote the song, or 18 I was, than when I was 12. But anyway, yeah, that section of the song kind of gives you the audio depiction of someone kind of waffling back and forth upon the waves of life and not really knowing what direction they're going in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and it's, I don't know, it carries the emotional quality of what you're trying to convey there so well. I've just connected with that from minute one of hearing it. You know, I remember the first time you showed it to me, I was like, dude, you wrote this? That's awesome. You know, I was so psyched. And
yeah, We recorded the original version at Berklee College of Music.
That's right.
In
You had old Tom Catone.
Yep, I think it was 88.
Man.
And Tom Catone played on this version as well.
Yeah.
I got Damon Brown, the original bass player, also to play on the Love album.
Tom Catone, the drummer on that. And you can follow him on Instagram if you like. Is it Tuna Drum?
What's that?
At Tuna Drum on Instagram, I believe is Tom's profile. He's a gas, man. He's got some cool stuff.
Great.
Oh my gosh, he's just stellar. Just so solid a drummer. You know, hope I get to meet him one day.
Yeah, I do too, man. He's a great guy too. You know, we had the stupidest jokes. Oh my god, just constantly. I don't even want to talk about it.
That sounds like a certain guitar player that's a friend of mine, also a protege of yours. He and I also have quite a few stupid jokes. I speak, of course, of Mr. Scott, who many of you have met in previous videos I've done. He's a gas. So it's this relationship between drummers and guitar players, I think, that happens where things get a little weird.
There's definitely a relationship. It's all that rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. You know, of course, guitar players, I think, are a little fuller of themselves, you know, and it's okay. They wish they were drummers, so I understand, you know.
Yeah, well, there's probably some drummer envy going on there occasionally.
I mean, we get to hit stuff, you know. Get that aggression out. It's a good thing. Of course, you know, you could stand there and say, I'm sophisticated enough to not have to hit stuff. And guess what? I can actually make melodies and chords. So,
well, I could say that, but the main thing I will point out is that your setup and teardown is much worse than mine.
Yes, it is. You are absolutely right.
That's probably what keeps me out of drumming, honestly.
Oh, God, geez, all I got to do is this amp and maybe a pedal board and a guitar, and I'm out. You know, that's it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I actually just played the Relevant Faith Church, our church here in Peoria that I attend.
Yeah.
We had our 5th anniversary yesterday, and got out there over at one of the primary schools in Peoria and played out there on their field. You know, that's where we had church set up, and yeah, I had to get everything set up out there. And I was just thinking, like, man, I have narrowed down like the setup and teardown of my kit. Like, I've made it much more specific, but it's still a beast. It still takes a while. Yeah. So, little by little, I'm going to get myself to a point where I have the super compact drum kit that fits all the drums inside of the bass drum. And then all my hardware is the lightweight, easy to move stuff, you know, and I could conceivably go in one trip from the car to the gig, without, you know, it doesn't matter what terrain I'm traveling, I can make it happen.
You know, this is a familiar vision.
Yes. I think I've shared it before.
Every drummer I've known has had a similar one.
Well, I feel like I'm getting so much closer now, you know, and
well, you know, they have the drum kit that all fits like the China.
Yes, they do. They have a couple different ones, but they're a few $1,000s a piece. So one day when I'm in the market for that, you know, hey, by the way, paypal.me/ADRSITBDB, feel free to hook me up that way. And, you know, also, you know, find other ways you can support Big Drummer. Buy a Chunk, Love Chunk or You're a Commie t-shirt. You can get that now at bonfire.com. Harold, you definitely got to check that out. You gotta get yourself a Love Chunk or You're a Commie shirt and show everybody your contempt for communism with a dog dressed up like Che Guevara. Because
I do want to, you know, communism's coming back. So
it wants to. It's I think there's a rising mindset of people who are like, obviously this is a dumb idea. It's been tried. It's been failed numerous times, and it always ends in starvation and genocide. So let's pass.
Yeah, we have to keep some kind of fire underneath our democracy, or we eventually will devolve into some kind of tyrannical communist state. I mean, that's just kind of the general pattern of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Freedom is something that you have to fight for.
Yes.
And I'm sort of glad to be a part of the freedom experiment.
It is pretty incredible. I try to remind my children of that regularly, that this is probably the most unique country in the history of the world in a lot of different ways. At no other time in history would you probably have had the freedoms you have almost for granted here. But you shouldn't take them for granted, because just go north of the across the northern border of this country, and you walk into a country which has put restrictions on speech to the point of compelling you to use certain words, and people get jailed and fined for it. I mean, it's amazing. I never thought I would see that.
Or jailing you if you say something that doesn't agree with
Yes.
in Norway, in Great Britain, in Canada, we complain about political correctness here in the U.S. And it's been jammed down our throats for the last 25, 30 years, but that's different than having people jailed,
Right,
for saying something that's not politically correct. We're blessed. I'd rather put up with out of control leftist media than actually live in one of those socialist countries.
Yes, and hopefully we'll continue to fight the culture war. We'll continue to present ideas that we're learning to understand better as to why the American way that we've had is better than a lot of other ideas about how we ought to live. And, we'll continue to seek our hearts to be, I guess, refined so that we live in this appropriately.
Well, it doesn't work. All the guys who were the framers, they understood this, that it doesn't work without an educated and a moral public.
That's right.
If you and we've slid a lot on those two issues.
Right.
Education has gone downhill.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a study this morning that something like 30% of people can't tell you what the three branches of government are.
It's very true. Oh, it reminds me of like what Jay Leno used to do, the jaywalking segments. He'd go out in the street and ask people just like
Mark
simple
Dice
questions.
does them now.
Who's that?
Mark Dice.
Does he really?
Oh, yeah.
So great. I haven't seen those. I need to catch that, man.
Yeah. It's ridiculously hilarious.
Do you know who the president is?
It's so stupid. And then, but they don't know who Joe Biden is, but they can tell you what dress Kim Kardashian wore.
There you go.
Last night,
because that's vital to your life. That's knowledge that you can't live without. I have a comment here from Andrew J., one of our other bears here. He's saying, will Harold Greene wear a green Love Chunk or Your Commie shirt? Is he going to invest in a green one? Because that would totally be appropriate for you. It does come in red, gray, green, blue, and white. But yeah, what do you think? If you're going to get one, which color do you think?
Yeah, no, it's got to be green.
Well, it's only appropriate,
Is it okay if I go and have greenhouse printed on the back?
I tell you what, you could get like an iron-on and add it, right? Add it to that, so that way you're still promoting Big Drum Bear.
Iron-ons, that's something I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, I know, right? And they work though. I mean, they're still legit. You can print iron-ons now with a certain kind of printer. It's wild. Or you can get like the certain kind of paper that you can put in there and create your own iron-ons. It's kind of interesting.
We need to do that. Yeah,
man. Yeah, for the younger people, you may not know what that was about, but to make customized shirts back in the day, the cheap way, you'd have to get little like iron-on stickers and stuff, and you could literally iron them to the shirt, and it would stick and stay. Not nearly as durable as like a well-made shirt like these are. These are quality.
Nice plug.
That's right. Let's do one more track from the album here. This is a song. It's on a softer note. You wrote this song, Angela, in response to the passing of your sister. And let's just give a little listen to this one. Bring the volume back for it.
Angela, mostly we just called you Annie Boo. Angela, there's no one who can wear a smile like you. With hands in hair, you watch TV, waiting for that bowl of teas, sipping on a sweet iced tea, nothing ever new. Angela, we'll be missing
favorites, man.
Your left, your
Yeah, that's a special one. I just play like about the first 50 seconds of that tune, and that has always been one of my favorites. In fact, my 9-year-old son Morgan, he loves that one. He's always loved Angela. Like all the kids would have different ones. Like when I'd play the CD in the car, they'd have different ones that they'd ask for at different times. Jackson would always be asking for Flibberty, right?
Okay.
And then Morgan would always be asking for Angela. You know, it's like a good decompressing kind of tune. It's just lighten the mood kind of thing. You know, and talk a little bit about that if you can. I mentioned some of the story, but yeah, your sister, wonderful lady, which I wish I had gotten a chance to meet, never did. And she was born with certain physical and mental, I guess, disabilities, and wasn't expected to live beyond a year, but she lived to be 52.
Yeah, she was a very special person. Mentally, she probably didn't get past about 3 years of age, but she had an incredible sensitivity to people and to spiritual things, and she had an incredible influence on our family. Probably, I like to say she's the highlight of our family.
I like that.
But I wrote the song, really trying to figure out. I realized that our whole family would come together for her memorial service, and I just, I thought, well, our whole family won't come together for any other person in our family. I mean, she really, literally has that much pull, that much influence. People loved Angela so much. And what is it about her? I asked the Lord, what is it that makes her so powerful, so influential? But I mean, she was always dependent on someone, and she wasn't past a 3-year-old mentality. What is this thing that she has? And the way I feel God kind of answered that question was this song, which basically says that she had a pure heart.
Yeah.
I mean, what she had on us was that she didn't have the pride of life. She was always dependent, and therefore could love in a very pure kind of way. And it brought out the best in people. I mean, honestly, even people who are pretty difficult to this day could be brought to,
Oh, I think
could be tamed by the
there
presence
you
of Angela.
thought I was losing you for a moment.
Yeah. I mean, she could literally tame the wildest spirits because, you had to be sort of humbled in a way by her disposition in life and how she loved everyone regardless of any of the things that we prejudice people about, whether it be our past history with them or character flaws or race or culture or any of those things, social class.
Yeah.
She just didn't see any of that. She just, it was like she saw people soul to soul and
So
had an understanding. And so to be around that,
yeah.
It's like you couldn't really shuck and jive her. I mean, she just brought the best out of people.
That's fantastic. Oh, it's so good, man. And I love the fact that I get to know the stories behind a lot of these songs too. There's another dimension to my enjoyment of this album, because I've gotten to know you over the last 10 years and because I've lived with you through some of these stories. So, it's kind of cool to have been a part of that journey with you. And, yeah, I just am so glad that you have an opportunity today. And at other times when you ever get to play this stuff and share it, it's like, man, that's not only a part of your musical growth and your growth in your life, your spiritual growth, your engaging with your heart and seeking to serve the ultimate purpose. But it's like, I was brought in to join you along on that. And every time I hear these, it's like, wow, I'm involved in that journey now. Like, who am I? Who the heck am I? But that's his decision. That's God's decision on that. And it's pretty awesome because it's uplifted my life greatly. So I'm pretty darn thankful.
You're definitely an important part of the journey. And the Love Project would not have been the same without your contributions, both in spirit and in the gifting of your talents that the Lord has given you. And,
Thank you, man.
You have the right sort of attitude to make things work nicely and with the other musicians, and also taking the music seriously.
Yeah.
And I feel like you brought some of your best performances to the Love Project.
Man, it was a blast. Now, to make that clear, I'm not on the album. Much better drummers than I. Tom Catoni.
Of course, I'm speaking broadly.
Right.
The Love Project is not just the album,
exactly.
the recorded material, but just the interaction with all the musicians. The Love Project was always about sharing the life of Christ with the people around me, and especially musicians. And so you played a number of shows. You played in churches and concerts that we did. And so you were a part of it that way. And as well as just your influence with the other musicians. And man, we had pretty much all volunteer teams.
Yes.
And the last few concerts we did, I had a full ensemble, 14, 15 musicians.
Yeah, that was amazing. You're talking about the one we did in Minear?
Yeah, with the one in Minear. We did one in up in
Oh, the one this summer. You mean when you came back to town?
Yeah, at Northfield Church over in Tremont.
We
did one in Zion.
Yeah.
And we had string quartet and horns in a lot of those concerts.
Yeah, man. If you want to have Harold Greene come and play the Love concert in your local area, right? Talk to your church, talk to your pastor, and see what you can do. I mean, yeah, if it's out of state, because we'd love to do it. See what you can do. Get some funds raised. Do something, because we'd love to come out and do that. I know I would jump at the chance to come out and play that concert again with you if I was so honored to have that opportunity. But it would be so great to come and share that stuff with people, with Bears, with folks abroad. So talk to your churches locally, talk to schools, whatever venues out there would be in a position to have us come and do that kind of thing and share that message, because it's so impactful on people's lives. It's one thing to talk about it and hear the album, which is great, but it's another thing to actually see it in person. If you could find a way to organize that, right? I guarantee, if we're able to make it happen, we do it. This is the kind of guy that loves to get out there and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And we want to connect with musicians. Yeah. I'll bring a core of musicians who know the whole book. But if you have a local violinist or a local, a horn player or a local whatever that can handle the book, we want to include them in it too.
That would be so cool to work with musicians at these other places. Oh man, I hadn't thought about that. Man.
Yeah, I've actually thought about doing it with the full orchestra.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Yeah, to get other orchestra musicians from these other locations that we could potentially go to.
Well, we may even could do it at we've never played the Baptist church over in Peoria. The big Baptist church has an orchestra.
Talking St. Paul?
No. I'm not talking about St. Paul. I'm talking about on the north end of town.
Big Baptist church on the north end of town. I'm trying to think which one that is.
Past Grace Pres, like way out north of.
Yeah, I'm visualizing. I'm trying to remember which one that is. I have to look, because I didn't realize there was one. Maybe I did, and I've just forgotten.
No, they
are you talking about Cedar Hills?
No. This is a huge Baptist church. They used to. Where was it? They moved out north from. I might think of their name, and I may not.
Thinking Dunlap?
No, it's past Dunlap.
Oh wow, yeah, that is
way
one.
out there.
So I wouldn't know it. Yeah, I wouldn't be familiar. I'd have to look that one up. That'd be cool, man. Shoot, yeah, we should try see what we can do to make that happen. Get you out of hurricane territory, since Anderson Cooper told us it's so dangerous. We probably do you well to give you an excuse.
Good old Anderson, purveyor of
all that is truth, right? Oh, it's so funny because it's so ridiculous.
Truth, if you want to subvert a Democratic
Correct. Yes. I want to play one more track here, and this is also one of my favorites. It's a tune called "To Worship You," and this is like the slow jam, right? This is like your slow jam tune of worship. It is just like, oh, it's so good, especially when you come into that second intro to verse 2. There's this like 3 guitar harmony I think you've got going on. It is just ridiculous. All right, let's play a little of this. It's so good, man. I think I'm going to start it right at that part if I can, or close to.
Shout out to Ben Ward, who co-wrote it with me.
Here we go, right here.
Is it your pleasure? Do you delight if you bring our treasure or a heart made right?
It's so good.
Our hearts right.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, man. I wish you could be listening to it with me. Oh yeah, that's good.
Hey, I'm listening on my headphone.
Oh, you can
It's
hear
just
it?
the time. Yeah, time delay is kicking my butt.
That's so funny, man.
That's actually Ben singing.
Yeah, he's masterful, dude. He's so good. Yeah, I hear the echo now. That's funny. That's good stuff. Well, hey, man, I've had you for a little over an hour now, and it's about that time when I'm gonna wrap the show up for the day. Let people get on about their business, and everybody's been so gracious to hang in here with us. We still got 15 people watching. This is fantastic. And people have been dropping links for your SoundCloud, and they seem to have been enjoying it. People like talking about the iron-ons. I was going to say, we'll take a real quick minute. If anybody still here has got like a specific question for Harold that you want to talk about, feel free to type that in the chat, and we'll see if we can answer just a couple of questions from the chat today. If anybody's curious about anything in particular, and then we'll bring the plane in. To finish things up. Let's see here. People are just talking with each other a little bit, but yeah, if you've got a question, feel free to drop that in the chat right now, and I'll be glad to ask her. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so it takes them a second before they hear that I asked that. Yeah. But yeah, and if you don't have any questions now, that's fine. Put them into the comment section once this video, the replay, is posted. And then we'll definitely get it then. Okay, so Inspector Bear, he's a good cat. He asks the list of instruments that you're proficient with. What instruments do you have a proficiency with?
Well, my strongest instrument is guitar.
Mm-hmm.
My first instrument was the piano, so it's a second instrument. The bass, I feel pretty comfortable with the bass. Not on all styles, but definitely for a lot of situations. And I can read and improvise on all of those instruments. And then everything else, I would consider myself sort of a rudimentary. I play other keyboard instruments, obviously the organ, and I played xylophone in high school, and I also played trombone in high school. That's the one brass instrument I have a fair amount of experience with. But also because of my music ed degree, I learned a little bit of violin. I learned a little bit of trumpet. When I taught my beginning band class, I used the trumpet to teach. And so I'm okay. I wouldn't play pro at any of these, but I can figure out the woodwind, the Bowen fingerings for most of the woodwind instruments. If you give me a week or so to get boned back up on it. Of course, I play a little bit of percussion. Nothing to get excited about. I certainly am not in Aaron Rademacher's league, but
Oh, go on.
but I do play. I can hold down a basic groove, and can function in a few different styles.
Yeah,
But
you've surprised me a few times when I've seen you like jump into the kit. It's not been half bad, man. You got a little bit
well,
of you
I
got a
know
little sense
what
of groove.
I know. Yeah, I kind of know what should happen. I just
Right.
don't always have the the muscle memory to do it.
Right,
But
it's the physical
yeah,
side.
yeah. But I guess if I was really to count them all up, including mandolin and banjo and all that, I think I probably play between 10 and 15 different instruments at some kind of rudimentary level.
Sure. And that's appropriate. We have another question here from The Best Answers is another one of our bears here. Do you specialize anything on playing guitar, like rhythm, solo, etc.? What is your main focus, your favorite thing to do?
Well, my goal is always to be a well-rounded player. So I would say among other guitar players, I'm probably known for my chord work because I can improvise chord melody. And but I grew up playing rock and blues solos. So soloing is definitely something that I can sink my teeth into. I have a great deal of fun with that. So really just, I think the ability to cop a style and to cop a groove in lots of different, use different chord voicings to bring out a style properly. And I like playing guitar and I like making each situation I'm in sound authentic and bring out the right feel for that. So you know my philosophy
for
on
sure.
all that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hear some of these young guitar players who just have such great chops, and it's so cool. So I'm so inspired, and I don't have those kinds of chops. I have what I have, but I would say I'm probably kind of equaled out between rhythm and finger style. I do a little bit of finger style. I had to learn classical in college, and but I'm not a great finger style player. But I can handle some basic situations in that too. So yeah,
very nice.
Kind of a jack of all trades in guitar.
That's appropriate. That's a very good deal. So I want to ask you a question before we get done here to let you put this information out. So you have the theory class that we talked about before, and in case anybody missed that, here's a little bit of an image related to that. This is a cover of Harold's book, Practical Music Theory for the Practicing Musician. This is, of course, volume 1 of his theory training, but he's starting an online presentation of this book, in a sense, 1 week at a time for, I think, 13 weeks, and that starts tonight online at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and if you email him at, was it Harold Greene at hotmail.com?
Greene with an E always.
Greene with an E, yeah, and it's up here on the screen right now. Yeah. We got your email up there. If you email them at that, you can get the information behind that. What can you say? Like what is the price per class, or what is it if they want to pay it all up front, or how do you do that?
It's $15 per class. Mm-hmm. If you're not able to make the live sessions, I'm just charging like $12 for each video. That also includes the price of the book. So you would get, if you were just doing the videos, you could do the 12 sessions and get the book for, whatever 12 times 12 is.
144, I think.
Something like that. And it's like 180 for the live classes.
Sure.
I think if it was me, I'd rather have the live classes just because if you do have a question, I'm going to be able to answer it.
Right.
In person, but as a caveat for those who can't make the Monday night time slot, I am going to give a 10-minute consult or make myself available. Yeah, so that because I don't want people taking the course and then not getting their questions answered. That would be a travesty. So, and this course is a life-changing course.
Yes,
I really mean that. I've had guys it just completely opened up their eyes, whereas they were kind of, like my favorite testimonial is Walt Herod
Walt
from
just
Peoria.
exploded, man. Oh, that was
Yeah,
amazing.
and he'll tell you it was like he says it's like salvation musically. You know, he literally had changed his whole perspective on things, and you know, he's actually you know, I think his son is actually signing up to go to music school now.
That's fantastic. I hadn't heard that because I haven't seen. Well, I saw Walt earlier this spring at one of the gigs I was doing with Fanny Ray and the Soul Shakers.
He's a great player. He's
Walt
always
was
been a great
smoking.
player.
Smoking.
And now he's just even, you know, just taking it higher.
Yeah. As a keyboardist, he was playing with a group called Ambient, and he's played with plenty of other groups and situations around this area. But he's just stellar. And then now that he coupled the theory knowledge with it, it took his abilities even higher because now he could articulate what he was doing. He could see patterns more clearly, connect things that he wasn't connecting, and just all that innate. Instinctive ability was coupled with the understanding of what's going on. It's
amplified by understanding, and this is so important for people to understand. If you do music, sort of, you know, on the side or whatever, but you just feel like, man, missing something, or wish I could take it to the next level. Understanding the mechanics of music will absolutely help you, no matter what instrument you play.
Right. It's stellar, man. I've gotten to teach this class once or twice, and let me tell you, I do a stinker job. I did when I first started. I was struggling. You know, I remember teaching a couple of courses like all on my own, and that was a tough one. You know, but I've learned a lot since then. It's been over a year or more since I did that, and I'm constantly learning more stuff about it. You've just got a finesse about the way you've done it because you wrote the course, and so you understand how you're leading people along that progression better. You know, so. It's really worth it if you're even remotely interested in music. I'd highly recommend that. Again, starts tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central. You can figure out the rest of the time zones. But email haroldgreene@hotmail.com, and you can get permissions to the class. It's done through gotomeeting.com, and he'll send you a link so you can access the class when it's time. And all you need is a laptop with microphone and webcam. And you can see everything that he's doing. He's got it all figured out on that end. So no worries. Just have a decent internet connection wherever you're at, and you can partake. It's definitely worth it. Harold, it's been fantastic having you come out here. Thank you for being my first guest. And
it's a real honor. Thank you, Aaron, for having me.
Absolutely, man.
And much love to the Bears.
That's so cool, dude. Glad to have you as a part of it. Love Bear. Always glad to have you in the house. And yeah. We'll let you get on with your stuff, and I'll just go ahead and pack up the show. But you stay safe, stay out of the hurricane, don't drown like Anderson, and you'll be in good shape.
Oh no, here comes the wind.
Oh gosh, I can't walk. Hashtag fake news. You are fake news.
Thank you, Ben.
All right. Love you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Love.
All right. I'm losing it here. Let's see. So yeah, back to the main camera. And that was a fantastic time hanging out with my good brother. Glad to have him here. And glad he could share some wonderful stuff with you guys. Man, what a way to do the first interview. And you guys were great. I really appreciate everybody hanging in as long as you have. Thanks again for dropping links, for encouraging us and getting good questions in there. I wish I'd had time to do more. If we'd done that earlier, maybe we could have gotten some more in because I know people have had to drop out. But yeah, the show's going to continue to improve in its quality and bring you some really great stuff, get you to meet some wonderful people. We'll improve the quality of the chunk commercials. I think we'll figure out a way to get them better for you. No problem, Debbie. You got to go back and watch this one because it's definitely worthwhile. It's such a good one. Interview with Harold was a great time. And hey, you know what? I know it's not everybody can always catch it live. I know how it is, but the replays are definitely good too. So plenty of good stuff to get there. But well, Bears, it's definitely past time here. So I'll let you all get on with your day. Again, thanks so much for what you do. Support Owen. Hashtag let Big Bear stream is the hashtag. You should get out there and use that. Let's get the WOJCICKI fascism abolished and get him back live streaming on the YouTube. That's where he belongs. Make these platforms treat all of their users equally, appropriately. And you be encouraged to live your life better. Hold truth up as a virtue. I know I certainly failed at that plenty of times in my life, but at least if you can be honest about it, you can stop saying things you know to be lies, at the very least, and you can organize your life. You can bring yourself into a position to live as successfully as you can. What is success? Success, as far as I can tell, is to put yourself in a position to reduce suffering for yourself and others as much as you can. Have a heart for them, the heart that the Creator has for them. Discover that more and more. However you understand that, if you're asking the question honestly, it'll get answered, I guarantee you. In the meantime, engage your mind, engage your body, and engage your heart. Seek to serve the ultimate purpose. Peace to you, bears. Thank you again. Enjoy it.